Oh, hi there.
Hi. We just saw
Rampage!
with The Rock.
Somehow not the life story of the wrestler Rampage Brown.
I don't know who that is, but whatever.
But it is based on an 80s video game.
I should also address, no blue screen today. Long story,
Lazy.
but... long story about this needing to be cleaned up here, and I just never got around to putting it back up.
And nobody cares, and let's just move on.
I just felt I needed to address that. Anyway, moving on. So the story is based on a video game from the 80s. I think one where you play as these giant, mutated animals and wreck a city for points or whatever. Well, they made an entire movie out of this, and aside from having the generic kind of disaster action movie plot with like the evilness of evil, super duper evil bad guys of evilness that is so obvious that they're evil that it's almost kind of hilarious, and incompetent military being incompetent, not knowing how to deal with this threat beyond their understanding, so they do the stupidest things possible. But aside from that, it was pretty good.
It was kind of like a Dark Universe movie, but a lot better than any of those Dark Universe movies.
Yeah.
Kind of same generic plot style.
There's actually only one Dark Universe movie, and there's a reason for that.
I thought Kong was... I thought it was Kong and the Scorpion...
That's not Dark Universe.
The Tom Cruise movie was not Dark Universe? Or Kong?
No, Kong was not. That was a different thing. That was a different sort of trying to be a shared universe, whereas the Dark Universe was the universal monsters like the Mummy, the Thing from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, Frankenstein, that kind of stuff, whereas what you're thinking of is like King Kong and Godzilla. But yeah. Anyway.
It's a monster movie that's not as bad as the other monster movies.
That's a lot of fish.
The only reason, in my opinion, the human characters are actually entertaining was because it's The Rock.
The Rock, yeah, it's The Rock.
It's The Rock.
That's why he's the biggest name in Hollywood right now.
Because he turns anything from boring into, oh, it's interesting because it has The Rock. He was fun. It was fun. The generic female scientist was a generic female scientist.
That's going to be our entire review, just generic something something generic something something generic.
I mean, she played her role. She wasn't a damsel in distress, which is better. I guess. She did have her own role to play, and she was pretty kick-ass at moments, like breaking the door, the glass door.
We should probably get into the general plot synopsis. So basically it's the evil corporation of evilness is developing genetic altering super weapons, to make super giant animals to sell on the black market, for tons of money because, of course.
Yeah.
And then
using genetic editing, which is a proper science I've actually heard of.
Because you see, that's chaotic.
So at least it wasn't too far out of the realm of what could happen. Like in theory, like you could use genetic editing to, I don't know, make that happen maybe.
Not to the extreme that it does, but
extreme.
Exactly. But like they start doing these tests on the International Space Station, and of course it goes wrong, and everyone on the space station dies. But the test samples crash back to Earth, and all three of the surviving test samples
infected.
This
George of the Jungle.
Not the George of the Jungle you're thinking of, but basically it's this wildlife preserve, I think.
San Diego. It was like a wildlife park.
Yeah, something like that. Of course, run by The Rock.
Yes. And it infected the only remaining albino gorilla in the entire world.
The white ape.
Albino.
More George of the Jungle from the '90s movie. White ape. Anyway.
And it infected a wolf and infected my phone. No, but it infected something out of the ocean. Which
yeah, crocodile. I think it wasn't the ocean. It was the
Florida Keys.
That is maybe an alligator. That.
Yeah, it was the Gulf of Mexico, definitely. So.
Okay, then there would be an alligator.
Yeah. So the rest of it was just, it was enjoyable, but it was definitely generic, waiting for the fights to happen.
Yeah.
Kind of padding, of we have some interaction between the Rock and some secondary characters, setting up the story of George, the ape.
Yeah, who the Rock character has a deep connection to, because he's like, animals are better than humans, and he's like, he used to like.
He was with the group of anti-poachers.
Yeah.
Who were killing George's mother, and then he just killed them and protected George and rescued George.
Yeah.
And he prefers animals over people, where he would rather
character arc.
Where he would rather go home and hang out with his dogs and go on a date. Thankfully, I don't have dogs, so I wouldn't choose the second option. God damn it, that thing.
Remind you of anyone, viewers?
Moving on. They set up it was a really, I liked the relationship between George and Davis. I believe his name is Davis.
Yeah. Whenever I hear Davis, all I can think of is Digimon Adventure 02. That was
Davis
a little
Okoye.
distracting. I know, but I mean still.
Which sounds like an African name, even though Dwayne Johnson isn't African.
Well,
He's
yeah.
Samoan. He is technically black, but he's not, like...
He should be Aquaman.
He's Black Adam instead.
Oh, if they ever get around to making that movie.
Yeah, eventually, I don't know. But yeah, it was kind of funny, because George knows how to sign, just like any of the monkeys trained in Planet of the Apes.
Caesar is home. Apes together, strong.
They even did that thing with George and Davis. That was their thing, was the fist together. It's
Apes together, strong. Yes.
But George would friggin' I forget what the exact sign was, but instead of giving him the sign, you just give Davis the middle finger.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you teach a gorilla to give you the finger? That's obviously going to backfire on you. It's like giving somebody a gun and going, hey, don't shoot me. I'm probably going to shoot you.
Yeah, only if they're a criminal. I mean, but let's not get into that.
Bad example.
Yeah, let's not get into that can of worms.
But then we had to set up, obviously, the Science Corporation of Evilness.
Yes. Of course, don't know anything about evil science.
Science Genesis or something. Whatever. But we had to set up...
It had Dine at the end of it, and usually... Dine at the end of the corporation name means they're an evil corporation. Mm-hmm. Like, just think of Cyberdyne from the Terminator series.
Mm-hmm. I did kind of appreciate the fact that it was run by a woman. Kind of a little bit of a change.
An evil woman,
yeah.
But yeah.
It's all...
And her sort of like,
doofy brother.
Yeah.
Who's just PR, basically. But
yeah.
We have to set them up because they have to be evil.
Yeah.
It sets up the end goal, which is this giant tower that sets out a sonar to track all the animals, so she can...
Because King Kong.
So she can... I think she can give them the thing that stops them from being aggressive, but then she can harvest their DNA or whatever and sell it.
Yes, because generic super evil villain corporation plot.
It got by for what it was.
Yeah.
It gave our heroes something to chase after, to an excuse to save the day.
Assuming you can even call it that, because even though they eventually did stop the creatures. Of course, the three of them all fought each other at the end because, of course.
Yeah, it's a monster movie. They're gonna fight.
Even though they say we saved the city, they're sitting in a pile of rubble that is like maybe a quarter of the city. So it's just like the first Avengers movie. It's like, yeah, we saved the city. What's left of it?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
They're gonna have to rebuild before the sequel because obviously there's gonna be a sequel.
Obviously a lot of red shirt collateral damage.
Yeah, that was probably one of the funniest deaths was Jeffrey Dean Morgan's in this movie from. He's basically a generic law agent, but / cowboy. Like, no, they never they kept who he works for specifically.
Vague.
Vague, yes.
Yeah.
But he does have a traditional Southern accent. I don't know why I felt
Which
that
really got on my nerves, and I can't really do that accent very well.
It got on my nerves.
Yeah, you do it better. But I do Arnold better. Too bad Arnold wasn't in this movie, it would have been even better.
I do Dr. Claw.
I do Batman. Anyway, let's get back on track.
But he basically starts out as an antagonist to them, kind of. Like he's an asshole, but he's also cares about the law.
The law!
You beat me to it because that's what I was thinking of. But he also knows when to accept that he's been saved.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that he wasn't just a hard ass. Just like, no, I don't care that you saved me. You're still bad. Like, I've seen that trope a lot. So I appreciate he actually helped them.
Yeah.
To the point where
his character arc.
Yes. To the point where he met up with the brother at the base of their building as it was falling, and the brother at that point was so messed up that he's like, "Just take it. I don't care anymore." And gave.
Well, because he's a coward, right?
Yeah. He wouldn't have. He couldn't even pull the gun himself because he held the main characters up by gunpoint and couldn't. He had to pass the gun to his sister just to shoot the rock here. If this was the Rock, this would be all muscle. But
Yeah.
But he gives him the laptop. He gives him his sister's pet rat, who's probably been experimented on.
Yeah.
And then he runs out of the building. Only splat.
Yeah, something falls off the building.
It's like you knew this coming, but it's still funny.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just psychotic for finding laughter in death. I don't know.
And yet you were too scared of a scene you watched of Jaws to watch the rest of the movie, so I don't know how accurate that is.
I don't know.
I guess it's the context of the fictional death.
I mean, like, I watch Criminal Minds and CSI all the time, and they have tons of people getting run over, people getting shot, that kind of stuff.
So it's the context. It's how it's the atmosphere of
it. Definitely. Like,
yeah. Because action movie violence is different from horror movie violence.
Yeah. Because this is just, it's like, it amused me to the part where the only time George ever ate anybody was, of course, he ate the person with the vaccine. Like, that felt really contrived. Like, they couldn't figure out another way to give him the vaccine, so he just, you can just eat the bitch. That's
how, I was actually wondering, wait a minute, how did they cure it? Oh, then you mentioned that, oh, right, yeah, duh.
He threw the woman up in the air, and all the vaccine was in her purse.
Yeah, that,
because where else do women keep things on them?
Not going to explore that one.
But then we got there was a lot of just padding in the middle of like military being idiots and just fire all the guns. It's not working. Bring in bigger guns.
It's not working. Bring in like it might as well be a nuke, even though we don't actually call it a nuke. It's
Mother of all bombs.
Yeah, it's even getting flown in one of those planes that
stealth bomber.
Yeah, that fire nukes, even though we're saying it's technically not a nuke.
Yeah. Even Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character's like, you're gonna put out the biggest explosion in the world on American soil, like just. But eventually we did get to the fighting. It was a very short fight. Like, most of the time, the movie was like George just fighting humans, and that's where I mentioned it was odd that throughout the whole movie he would throw them away, but he would never, like, it was a lot more self-defense than like fighting than being like trying to kill them. But then it came to the one random woman, and he like, okay, now I'll eat her.
Well, because evil, so that they kind of set it up that she deserved that.
Yeah, she deserved it, but it felt this is gonna sound weird, but it felt out of George's character.
Well, yeah, it did, but I mean, he was also in Rampage mode, so he was out of his character.
It was kind of funny early in the movie.
He was in Hulk smash mode.
Yes, but early in the movie, the woman sets up that she hired a special forces military to solve the problem of the rampages, and they were in the movie for all of 2 minutes.
Yeah, because they just got laid out by chumps by the
giant
mutated wolf.
Yes.
Too bad there wasn't a mutated crab in here, because this entire review would have just been attack its weak point for massive damage.
You went there.
Of course I did.
Yeah. It would have taken place in feudal Japan.
But hey, sequel, right?
Yeah.
They set up for a sequel, so might as well.
Yeah, because they early on in the first scene, the first scene, the woman's grabbing all the tanks of samples, and it looks like her case can hold 5. I'm pretty sure she grabbed 4, but only 3 of them actually found their way to animals. So I'm just assuming the 4th one will be either found in another movie or somebody's already used it. And they're going to get ready to attack a city, or, I don't know, threaten the world governments for more money, or they'll set the animal loose. Something.
Yeah.
Something generic.
Or maybe they could just go more of a Jurassic World or kind of like Planet of the Apes route, where the pathogen becomes contagious.
Hmm.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Where all an animal would need to, one of those mutated animals would need to do is maybe just bite another animal but not kill them and spread. That would be cool. But yeah, anyway, back to the this movie.
Yeah, and they set up early, George has a family, and they were introducing a new gorilla to the family, and
Can't remember his name.
Salvo or something.
No, Pavlo.
Paulo.
Who cares?
Marco.
Pollo.
But it's kind of just throwaway just for George's backstory, and getting the Rock interacting with a couple other people, like his his sidekick, whose name I don't remember, the generic blonde whose name I don't remember, and the guy who was scared of everything.
Yeah, the movie's full of this, but we knew that going in.
Yeah, it's all about the Rock.
Of course. And thankfully he doesn't look like a tree.
Ah, damn it. But in the end...
I would not be opposed to him playing alongside Groot, though.
I mean, Marvel, DC... Yeah.
Hey, there are actors that are in both. If I will just remind everyone.
Yeah, except the Green Lantern isn't part of the current
No, I'm
DC
not talking
continuity.
about Green Lantern. I know this may be a bad example, but he does break the fourth wall, so he mentions it in the trailer.
Oh, right. Yeah. But the monster fight at the end is very, very short, because the giant alligator thing kind of looks like an Ankylodon. Pretty much quickly just kills the wolf by biting his head off and then swallowing the head. I was like, Jesus. But then the alligator was incredibly harder to kill, because the Rock fired grenades at his skin flaps, which looked like it should have killed.
Yeah, but in this kind of movie, I was like, yeah, no, that's not going to finish
like the freaking alligators in an immovable force.
But,
they do eventually take... What were you
well, yeah, no, yeah, eventually,
George takes it out by stabbing it in the eye.
So I was tempted to say this in the theater, but I held back for this review. Ta-da! It's gone. I'm gonna make this pencil disappear.
And then it looks like George dies from his injuries.
Which I was really expecting that would be the route to go, because I was thinking, like, in universe, how the hell are they gonna take care of this giant ape after all that you know,
I don't know.
rampage that it did? But
They'll probably use George to synthesize a vaccine, and then eventually maybe shrink him back to normal.
Or just sequel bait. He will be the King Kong-esque hero that has to save the day from the new monsters that show up.
That probably too.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's why they...
But then as he's lying there dead, he starts to twitch because he can't hold it. And the Rock calls him out on it. And he just gives the Rock the middle finger. Like a gigantic middle finger. And then insinuates that the Rock and his female co-ode are going to... And then they walk away from Chicago and the movie ends.
Yeah, so it was okay.
It's apparently the best rated video game movie ever. So
that's
not hard.
Yeah.
But it...
Though calling it based on the video game is kind of a stretch, but whatever, it's close enough.
It has the same name, has a vaguely similar premise.
Yeah. So, but
overall, it was generic but enjoyable.
Yeah. The only other cliche I'm going to point out, which I've never been bothered by in action movies, especially before, but now after just watching so many like movie reviewers like for so many years, I'm thinking like, how do these characters survive getting literally thrown like hundreds of meters in the air and smashing through glass? They're just like, ow, and then they're okay. Like The Rock, like he got shot right here. Sure, he said it missed all the vital organs, but half the time he's not even covering it. Like he's just like, oh yeah, I'm wounded. And like, oh yeah, I'm wounded.
Well, he's The Rock.
I know, but still.
You got a no soul pain.
But it's similar.
It comes from his experience as a wrestler.
It's similar with that Southern agent guy, because like he got thrown across the airplane by George, and like I just assumed that killed him, but nope,
he got knocked out, but he woke. It was hilarious. He woke up in the air going, "Holy shit! Holy shit!"
Yeah, like that.
We assholes have to stick together.
Yeah, like I was in real life, that should have like killed like anyone. But anyway, it's dumb, silly action movie. But that brings me to my other point that I gotta check the rating on this again, because it gets the gore is actually pretty intense. So I thought it was PG-13 going in. It might be R.
I highly doubt it's PG-13.
Yeah, well, PG-13 is a very gray area now. It's like this is G, this is PG, this is PG-13, and this is R. Basically, this is what PG-13 encompasses, as opposed to the other ratings now.
Okay, now stop hitting me in the face.
I wasn't trying to.
But, yeah, that's it.
Keep an ace up your sleeve.
And keep it weird.
Bye.